All right, well, welcome back to part 2 of the StarCraft 2 Build Order Manager series. I don't know what I'm going to call this project, but this is just the name that I'm going for right now. There's still a lot of stuff that we could potentially do. I'm not sure if I want to focus on the styling of this app and maybe bring in like a component library that's built in the Tailwind, or that is built using Tailwind, or if I want to just keep on adding some new features. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to refactor and redesign a little bit of the page to make it look a little nicer, because right now this looks like garbage. Let's be honest, this looks pretty bad. So I'm going to try using something called Flowbyte. I think they have a bunch of free components you could potentially use, and it's built off of Tailwind. And if you were to go to, I'll just search buttons, and they have like all these buttons that you can basically copy and paste into your project, and you can start using them. And I might plan to kind of do that and see what we can bring in. So first of all, let's see if they have a header. Or it's called a navbar, I think. And this is what the navbar looks like. It's pretty basic, and I think that's good enough for what we want. So I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go ahead and drop that into our code. We don't have any user stories mapped out. We'll come back to this in a second and kind of talk about making some more, but right now I'm just doing this misc task. So let's go to source, let's go to pages, and also we don't have a components folder, so let's make a components, and I'm going to make a navbar.tsx. Let's just go ahead and make a navbar here, and I'm going to go ahead and just paste in the code that we copied directly from that Flowbyte site. And I'm going to rename some of the stuff from class to class name like this. And I'm sure there's some other JSX stuff that we have to change to get this to be proper. This is just complaining because Next wants you to actually use like their image component, but we won't do that yet. So let's just go to the main page. And I think in Next, what you can actually do is in the index or inside of app, if you wanted a navbar to show up on the top of every single page, you could add it potentially here. So let's just try adding a navbar here and see what happens. Go ahead and auto import that and go back to our application. And now we got the cool little Flowbyte thing showing up. Now, I don't know why there's like rounded edges up here. That's kind of weird. Let's go ahead and hover over that and see. It has rounded on it. I don't know why it has rounded on it. It's kind of weird. So go to the navbar, and again, this is just code copied directly from their component library. And we can kind of modify it as we want to get it to match, get it to meet the needs that we want. So in our case, let's get rid of this icon here. We don't need an icon yet. And I'll say StarCraft 2 build order manager. There we go. And then what nav links do we think we actually want? I think we just want, like, instead of home. Oh, I think they have some like mobile responsive menu, which is pretty nice too. So you can click on this, and it doesn't actually expand anything because we'd probably have to add in some functionality to do that. But right now, I'm not going to design for mobile because that's just extra work, and I just want to focus on the simplest path forward. So I'll delete this button. And really, we don't need all these links. We just need like one link. There we go. We got a home link. So what I would like to do is I'm going to call this submit build. And then we probably want another link called browse or find build. Maybe search builds. Maybe search is a better term that people are used to. Now the styling here is pretty garbage. I don't know why it's like a completely different color. Let's see. It's supposed to be gray, but for some reason, like, it is blue. So I'm going to try to figure out where these styles are coming from. I'm guessing they're coming from like a styles component here. All right, so right here we have a link. The BG is blue. And when we're in dark mode, the text is blue. That's kind of confusing. It says the text is blue in dark mode. My computer is dark mode. But when I toggle their dark mode, they are definitely not blue. So I'm not sure if the example we're looking at, did I copy the wrong thing? So this is the joys of programming. Sometimes you just have to figure out why stuff's not actually the way it is. And obviously I just copied some random code and I have to kind of figure out why. Obviously, I don't know why this even has a BG blue. These are links. So I'm going to delete the BG blue here. And I'm going to delete this because like, I don't think that should even be there. I don't like the names of these search builds and submit builds. I might call it create build and find build. As you can tell, I can't make up my mind. But let's make these links actually go to proper pages. So we're going to change these from A tags to next links, like this. And then this will point to the home page. This will point to submit build. Okay. Let's get rid of this gradient in the background. I don't like this purple at all. And we have to figure out where that's defined. It's probably defined. There's a global CSS. It's not there. So it's probably defined on the actual component itself. Right here. Don't like that. I'm going to delete that. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this kind of more styled towards dark mode. I'll say dark, and then we want text to be white. And then I'm going to say text is black for normal mode. And then also dark, we're going to say BG. We will say gray of 800. All right, this looks a little bit nicer than it did before, right? So I might actually, these links should be styled better. Like when you hover over them, they don't change colors. They don't even look like real links. So it's kind of a bad styling in my opinion. So how would we achieve that? What we could do is we could basically say, I'm going to prototype a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and say like hover, and then we're going to make this text be, what color should we make it? I'll make it some type of blue, but I'll make it like a light blue. There we go. It's not bad. So also, how do you do, can you do like dark cover like that? I'm not sure if that's the proper way to do it. Anyway, I don't have a way to switch from dark mode to light mode unless I go to my operating system. I have to set up a plugin to basically allow us to like toggle it with a button. I don't want to do that right now. So let's just go ahead and not worry about dark mode after all. And we're just going to make this site completely be focused on dark mode. Okay. I also like the underlined. So I'm going to say like hover underline like this. Okay. So in Tailwind CSS, and again, I don't know the proper way to do this, is you can actually go to your globals and you can actually say apply. And then inside the apply, you can actually put a name here. So I can say like link. And then we're going to go ahead and make a link class that has most of this stuff. Go ahead and grab that, put that in there. Is that how you do it? I don't remember if it's a dot there or not, but what this allows you to do is you can basically take away a lot of the stuff and just put link. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing this wrong. Do this. Here we go. Now there's also a bunch of other stuff, like I don't know why I have block. don't know, like rounded here, padding, doesn't need to be there, transparent. All this stuff needs to go away. Okay, so now we have like a reusable class that you can basically use on your links to make them match a certain style. You guys can leave a comment if you guys think of a better way to do this. You could also abstract away the styling with like a link component, which would wrap this link next link, but I just feel like just having a class name link is probably a better approach. So I think what would be really useful is using the current build order thing that I saw online. It's kind of a pain to like have to select a bunch of drop downs. Like usually when you are playing StarCraft, you have a certain race that you normally play as, unless you're doing random, and you just want to be able to select like, okay, I'm playing Zerg this time. And then when you play on Zerg, like I want to have like 3 columns where you can press Zerg, Terran, or Protoss. So I'm going to restructure the find a build page a little bit. We'll go to pages here. I'll say find builds. And this is going to be page. Let me just copy this one. Find builds. So what are we trying to do here? Basically, we want the ability for a user to select one of 3 races. So I'll just go ahead and say select your race. And we're going to have 3 links. We will have, actually we're going to do cards. Let's just do some cards here. So I'm going to go ahead and type in card. And let's see if they have some cards you can choose from. Maybe one with an actual like, just an image. Like that's all we want. Just like an image of Zerg. Okay, might have to just go with the best one here. I'll just go ahead and grab this one. It's not the one I had in mind, but I guess it works. Go ahead and paste that code in. And I'm going to go ahead and just copy and name this one the class name. There we go. And in here, we're going to pass in the image source like this. And inside the find builds, we're just going to put 3 cards like this. Make sure you auto import that. And we want to basically find StarCraft to Zerg. Looks nice. Let's see if I just go ahead and paste in the entire, okay, that's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to save the image as, I'm going to put it in my workspace. This is probably plagiarism, so I need to find a different image, but this is just to get something working for right now. So if you go to the build orders and go to source, actually I think I can put it in the public folder. I'll just go ahead and say Zerg dot JPEG. I don't know if it was a JPEG, but now we should be able to say .Zerg.jpg. Hopefully this will display the Zerg image somewhere. Find a build in the header. So let's go to the navbar and let's go ahead and change this to find builds. There we go. Not the best image, but what we're going to do is copy this 3 times. Okay. And we want these to be 3 columns, right? So how can you achieve that with Tailwind? Well, you could wrap this whole thing in, I don't know. I don't want to try to use a div. Maybe a section would be okay. Or maybe some type of like unordered list. Like so. And then these could all be like list items that have cards in them. I try to do semantic HTML, but honestly, I'm a noob when it comes to semantic HTML. There might be a better way to do this. But anyway, let's just go ahead and give this like a display of flex, gap of 20, and let's see what that does. I don't know why there's 4 of them. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, doesn't look too bad. You could also do CSS grid. Maybe CSS grid would be a better approach here, which I think you just basically say grid, and then you say grid columns 3. That'll achieve the same thing. You can say gap of 20 or 4 or something. Okay. And honestly, we could just have an image. Like, we don't need this extra text. Like, we all know like what a Zerg is. I'm actually going to rename this a little bit. Instead of card, it's going to be called race card, like so. And technically, this is a component that's only ever going to be displayed on this page. So like having it be its own component might not even make sense. I'll keep it here just for right now, but let's just go ahead and delete like the paragraph stuff. We'll delete this extra stuff here. Let's see what else we need to do. So something's definitely broken. Go ahead and do that. Okay, looks a little bit better. Instead of it saying read more, I'm gonna go ahead and say, I'm gonna let this be something you can pass in as a property. I'm gonna say button text. Okay, so before I keep coding this thing, I do want to say that this is a very specific type of component, right? So what I could actually do is rename some of the stuff. I could call this like race image source and race name. How about that? Just so that it's like very clear, like what this is doing. This isn't really a generic enough card that I would use it in different pages. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that. Don't know if that's a good idea or not, but that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I know this stuff is being cut off by my head. So let me just go ahead and close that left side panel. Yeah, so this thing, go ahead and do that. And then inside our race name, I will say Zerg. Protoss. And Terran. I need to find a Terran in a Protoss image. Okay, this one looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and save that image. And I will save it as Terran. Dot, I don't know what it needs to be. And then Protoss. I'm trying to get ones that are like square, so let's just go ahead and grab. This one looks. I'll grab this one. So some of them are saved as JPEG with an E, so I'm going to go back to our public folder and I'm going to rename the Zerg one to have an E in it so it's consistent. So I'll do this. Let's go back. There we go. This looks pretty slick. And then it says Zerg, Protoss, and Terran. Again, I don't like the fact that I made my separate component here. I'm actually going to grab all this and I'm just going to put it directly in the defines build here. And not import it, right? Because like I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use it on any other page. So like, why bring it in? And then this is a link. Like we need to change that to a link, like that. I don't like the button color, so we'll probably go to Flowbyte and find a different one. What else can we do here? For the alt, I'll just put like race name. And then we click on the button. It needs to take you to, where does it need to take you? So it needs to take you to a page. I'll say builds, and then this will be like the race here. So this one could be, let's change this to interpolation here. And we're going to go ahead and just pretend that we have a route that we can access where you do builds of, actually I'm going to do races, and then I will do race name / builds. Okay. I'll make this button, I'm just going to make it full width. Where's this button defined? Display text center, rounded large. I mean, I think I could give this like a width of 100 and see what happens. Okay, that looks even worse. I'll just go back to what it was. Whatever. Let's not waste too much time focusing on the nitty-gritty stuff. There's just something odd about this. If any designers are watching this video, like, feel free to leave a comment of like, what is a better design for this? So basically, I might change this one to, instead of find builds, it'll be called races. And then find where I was going there, like that. Find a build will take you to races. I'm going to click Zerg, and then takes you to Zerg here. I don't like how there's a capital Z there, so I might actually go back to our races page, and I'm going to go ahead and say to lowercase, like that. And instead of going to builds, maybe we should also pick a style. So instead of like races / Zerg / builds, I might go to /matchups. So I'll say match -ups. Again, this is natural encoding, especially if you don't have like a product owner who's telling you exactly what to build. If you're I'm just kind of going off what I think I want this application to look like, and I make changes. I try something out. If I don't like it, then I'll make more changes. And what we're going to actually do here is go back and click on Zerg, and then make sure that this is a page that exists. So we're going to say races, and then we are going to make a new folder called race name. And inside of that directory, we are going to say match-ups. I think it's just called matchup. I'll call it matchups. I think that's what we called it. And I will paste that same thing. And we're going to do a very similar approach where in the matchups, you're going to select your opponent's race. Select opponent's race. I think I spelled opponent wrong. Thing needs to be at apos semicolon. Opponent's race. So yeah, and this is same view as the other page, where now you're going to select your opponent's race. And I'm going to get rid of these dot slashes because they're totally messing up the images. And we'll go back. We're going to go ahead and this. Now, one thing I will point out is that I copied and pasted this race card in 2 different places. We could potentially make this a reusable component. So what I'm actually going to do is just export it directly here. Oh, look, it's already exported. So for right now, like, let's just dry up the code a little bit, and I'm going to import race card from the other page. Select your race, Zerg, select the opponent's race, and I will say Terran, and then that should take you to races /Zerg /matchup /Terran. So let's just go ahead and go into the race card, and this is actually this needs to be refactored again. This would actually have to change the link, so that probably needs to come in as props. At this point, I'm questioning everything I'm doing with this application because I don't know if this is even a good approach, but we'll figure it out. So href will be passed in as a prop now. It needs to be a string. If you go back to races, this href is equal to do that. And this will be Zerg. There we go. Zerg, Protoss, in. Something is broken here. Let's go to find a build. Like Zerg. Takes you to races /Zerg /matchups. Build. Okay, so yeah, I need to go into matchups and do a similar approach where I need to pass in that here. And this will be matchup of Zerg, matchups of Protoss, and then mess will be matches of Terran. Now, it is kind of off-putting that like you go to a new page, but you don't really know that it's a new page. So I don't know. I need to think about a different approach to kind of make it more like apparent that you're selecting your own race and then you're selecting your opponents. Maybe you can keep that on one page and just like swap out. Okay, let's think about this. I'm gonna go ahead and like, I believe since we have race name here, we could simply bring in the router. I'll say const race name is equal to use router dot query. Is that how you do it? Let me import this. So we know what race you picked, right? That'll be selected here. We can actually display that. And we could say like h1 race name versus. I have too many h1s here. I need to actually get rid of them. So I'm actually going to change this up a little bit. All right, Zerg. Okay, I'm going to make it this div. And then inside the div, we're going to put 3 things. So just do 3 paragraph tags. This can maybe be a section as well. I don't know. And we'll make 3 paragraph tags. This will be a paragraph tag of race. Like so. We'll have a paragraph tag that says versus. And we're going to go ahead and just get this some styling. Text center. Flex column. Gap of 4. Zerg versus select opponent's race. I don't know. It's still not very intuitive. I'm not a UX design. I'm not a designer or a UX person, but I might even change like the buttons to be red. So like instead of race card here, the button color could probably be dynamically changed. So I'll say button color. And this thing, I don't know if I can dynamically pass in Tailwind classes like that. I've seen issues in the past where like you try to dynamically add a class and it just doesn't work because Tailwind needs to like compile stuff at runtime, but let's try it out. Instead of BG color blue, we will say I'll just say is red. How about that? That'd be easier. Or is opponent. And this would be a boolean. And basically, what we could do is do something like this. And then for the color, we should be able to like append blue of that. Not sure the best approach to do this, honestly. I'll just do something like this. So inside of here, I'm going to say like const button style is equal to, and then if it is opponent, we're going to set it to all these BG stuff like this. Get rid of all this like blue stuff and put it here. And we're going to do the same thing for if you're not the opponent. So I'm going to swap these a little bit. And we'll say BG red 700, hover BG red 800. And again, I don't care about dark mode right now, so let's just get rid of the dark mode stuff. And then for button style, we're just going to append that. All right, how's that for hacky? Let's see if this actually works. So let's go back to matchups, and this will be is opponent will be true. In fact, I think in React you can just put it there and it'll set it to true if it's defined. And then we could also just default this. So let's go back to that race card, and I will make this an optional, and I will default this to false. Okay, so there's like a subtle difference that you can actually tell that you're selecting your opponent's race now. I like this a little bit better. There's probably 101 different ways you can do this, but if I click Zerg, now I want this page to basically show you all the ZVZ builds that you can basically do. So let's make another page. Inside of races, race name, matchups. So I have to make a folder called matchups. Matchups. Pull that file in. Rename this one to index. And yeah, then we'll have to make a new one called opponent race. And I'll make a file called index.tsx, I believe. Go ahead and paste all this code in. Okay, so we got a lot of files open. And I'm getting kind of overwhelmed. So I'm going to close everything I have. And we will just try to work out the matchup section here. So let's just delete all the stuff that we want to get the opponent name from the router. And then we also want to get our current race, which I think was just called race name, from the router as well. And I think I might be able to just destruct here, make this a little bit cleaner. Just go ahead and do this. Sometimes TypeScript gives you some complaints if you do that way, but I think it should work fine. All right, so now inside of main, I'm just going to print out race name versus opponent name and see what happens. Zerg versus the opponent name is not printing out. So let's figure out why that's the case. Oh, I called it opponent race. So go ahead and do that. Zerg versus Zerg. There we go. So the idea is like, I want a quicker way to like, oh, by the way, when I click on this link, like let's go to the navbar real quick. And when I click on that main link there, that should not take you to Flowbyte. That should take you to your dashboard. So let's just go ahead and go to / here like that. And I'm also going to call this a last name of link so that it hovers over it and it actually looks like there's some feedback there. These two, I might as well just default it. Like, I guess the homepage will explain what the app's for. I'm in a new build, view builds. Anyway, okay, so select your race. I will say Zerg. I don't like how there's so much padding there. Is this like a line item center on this? Or is there padding? As you can tell, when I design and build apps, I kind of jump around. Because I don't typically plan beforehand. I just work on the code and I do things as I think about it. Okay. Now, if this was actually like a real work project, like you have things that you need to build. Someone tells you what to build. They give you images of what you're building. So there's a plan that's built up usually beforehand. Designs are made, UX research is done. And it's more of like, okay, I have an image, let's just code it up. In our case, I'm the one designing this. I'm the one doing the UX. So like, I got to figure out what works or not. But I want to figure out why there's so much space there. I think this is just because this has probably item center here. Whoa. Is that what's causing it? Min H screen. I don't know if I like that. Whatever, let's just keep it. Let's not get distracted. I guess it's fine that it's like centered. I just feel like there's a lot of extra space. So select your race. I'll say I'm going to play a Zerg. Select your opponent's race. I'm doing a Terran. And then it says Zerg versus Terran. And now what we can actually do is we can query the backend and get all of the builds that are this composition or this matchup. Now remember, we had a way to do that. Actually, do we have a way to do that? I think we have a TRPC router here. We have a builds router, and this just calls get builds. So I might actually restructure this because just getting all the builds from the backend isn't really useful. I'll actually call this get builds by matchup. Is matchup one word? Matchup. Batch. Yeah, okay. And then what we probably want to do is we want to actually provide this input. Remember in TRPC, this is how you can define like what thing you have to send to your backend to get the data. So it will take in a matchup and that's it. So that's one of those like ZVZ, ZVT, ZVP, whatever. So we will call context prisma build order.find many, but we actually want to get the data where the matchup is equal to the matchup that was passed in from the input, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do input here, and then I will go ahead and make sure I pass the input.matchup there. So this will give us a specific subset of builds that are for our matchup, okay? Now, our code should break now because I believe we're doing a get builds before, like that. So I'm going to rename this to get builds by matchup. Actually, this builds page, like, we might not even need it anymore because before, yeah, we might not even need this like page at all. So in fact, what I'm going to do is just delete you. Do I want to delete you? I'll keep it around just in case, but there's errors here. So like, I just want to get rid of the errors. Okay. So the new page we're working on, this is the actual like matchup page. And what we want to do is we want to do that request based on the matchup. So we're going to say get builds. Oh wait, why is this not working? Auto import trpc, get builds by matchup, use query. This needs to take in a matchup, and this could take in ZBT or whatever, right? So we are going to basically, I guess we could pull the table back in for now. I don't plan to actually use the table because it's kind of ugly. Wrap that in H1. But I'll go ahead and uncomment this. Okay. Alrighty, so instead of hard coding ZVT, what we actually want to do is we want to use opponent race and race name to basically create the matchup. Now, luckily, the races are three completely different first characters of their name. So what I think I could probably do is just do something like this. I could say race name dot char at 0. I think they're going to be lowercase. I'm just going to say two lowercase, just in case, and get the first character. And then I'm going to concatenate that with a versus. And then I'm going to say opponent race to lowercase dot char at 0. Is this hacky? Yeah. But does it work? Yeah. So this thing, I don't like how it's like not typed. So what I'd rather do is I'm going to say as opponent race is a string and race name is a string. There might be a better way to do this too. You might actually want to say like if they're not defined, then redirect the user. Like if you were to type in some bogus thing here, you might want to redirect the user to something else. But okay, let's just test this out. So if I create a build, I'm going to do a ZVP. I'm going to go ahead and say whatever, submit this. And then I'm going to go to find a bit. Actually, I don't want to go to this builds page anymore. So let's find where, let's go to submit build. And we don't want to go to the builds page anymore. We actually want to go to like, just go to the home page, whatever. So create a build, ZVT. And then I'm going to go ahead and find a build, ZVT. And there you go. Pops up. I can go back and like, I can find different matchups based on race. I could do TV. Do I have any matchups for any of these? Zerg versus Protoss. Terran versus Terran. Do I have that? Okay, so it's stuck on Zerg for some reason. Even though I'm pressing Zerg, like I press Terran there and then I press Terran, changes this to Zerg. So there's a little bug that we got to fix, and I believe it's in this page where I probably have Zerg hard coded here. Yep, I sure do. So what we actually want to do, this needs to come from the router, right? So let's go over to the router like so, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring in, oh, we have the race name. Okay, so I'll just do this. We're going to use the race name that you selected. so that when I select on Terran, it persists that we had Terran selected to begin with. I think I've been doing Zerg versus Zerg for everything. All right, so again, I don't know if this is a good approach. I just like it because what I do when I'm playing StarCraft is like I want to find a quick build order to practice on the ladder. And I hate the current websites that basically have like drop downs everywhere and like it's just kind of a mess. So I rather just go find a build. I'm Zerg, I'm playing Protoss, and then I get a bunch of builds that are just displayed to me, and then have quick filters to just find like, okay, I want a cheese build, or I want a economic macro build, or I want a all-in build, and I can just click and quickly filter through the builds, find like the top rated and stuff like that. So before I wrap this up, let's just go ahead and make this homepage look a little bit nicer. I'm going to go ahead and just like add some class names here. Class name, link, just so they look like real links. I might even want to make them underlined by default so you can tell, because right now, like, you don't even know this is a link. I probably should change the color of it to be the light blue. So let's go to the globals, and I'm actually going to make this, instead of text white, I'm going to make it text blue of 200. You hover over it, it makes it 300. Or it makes it 100. Okay, I think that's the more apparent that this is an actual, like, link. I don't know why this one didn't change, because that one I also have bar. What's this called? Link flex item center. Oh, I think this one has like some hard-coded stuff on it. Self-centered. Why does it have all this stuff? I think the only thing I want on this is just like the size and the semi-bold. The other stuff, get rid of that. I'm in a new build, new builds. Oh no. Yeah, let's just get rid of that builds page. I don't think we even want that anymore, based on how I plan to actually have this. So when you click on view builds of that index page, we are going to go to what did I call it again? I think I just called it races. Okay. Create build. Ooh, create build still looks ugly. So this is also a problem sometimes you get with tailwind, is that you start copying, pasting code everywhere. Actually, this isn't even a tailwind issue. This is just a me issue. When you start copying, pasting like pages from pages to pages, like you pull over all these classes, and what we should really do is take a break and like really think about a better approach for some of the stuff. Because what I want to do is I want this page to be consistent with the other pages. So go ahead and just copy this. And I'm moving too fast. I messed up the thing. So I'm going to copy this page, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that here where main is. Okay, what am I doing? This is a sign that I need to stop. I've been coding for too long. There we go. I'll make a mental note to come back and make this more like clean. I don't want to have to copy the same code on every single page. So what I actually might do is call the video. I'm gonna say the video is done for today. So if you guys liked watching me kind of just code up some new features to this application, give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna go ahead and commit what I have. So I'll just say like redesigning how to pick a matchup, fixing some styling. I think that's all we kind of did here. I'll go ahead and commit that, and stay tuned for whenever I make the next part of the series. Don't know what I'm going to work on, but I'm sure it's going to be something useful. All right, have a good day and happy coding.